In the beginning, I attempted to. I did not have the resources or the depth of expertise to do that. So as I've traveled through my own personal journey in crypto, learning how to identify the right people in the space. So the reason I follow the best thought leaders and the best influencers in the space is this: when these projects approach these influencers, and most of them do need a KOL or an influencer, they want to associate with themselves with somebody to promote their project because there's so much competition, right? These influencers, the right ones, do an extremely detailed vetting project. So I'm connected to some people within the field that vet these companies stringently, the developers, the people behind it, the whole story. So by the time it gets to a yes from them, it's been vetted. And then I get to the same project being vetted independently by another person who is reputable. And by the time I get a consensus of 3 or 4 individual people who are all vetting these things and they're all saying the same thing, I now feel comfortable it's a viable project. So I don't directly vet projects. I don't have that level of expertise or resources or even connections to call up developers in the industry. But the people I work with directly or indirectly have vetted these things, which is where they make it into my list. So my list is only projects that have already been highly vetted by reliable people in the field. It's too hard for me to do on my own, but that's my system. People in the beginning and even now will still do their own research and they will they will dig in deep, and I applaud them for it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great to go in that level of detail. I just doesn't fit into my world, right? So I work through other people that I trust, that have a proven track record of integrity, that have vetted these things in detail, and then when they do, they do. Let me leave your listeners with some good stuff too. AI is, when it comes to crypto, it's really about narratives. And narratives are these categories. So AI is a narrative, gaming is a narrative, real world assets is a narrative, layer one of the narrative, security is a narrative, gambling is a narrative. These are all sort of like categories that there are projects in crypto. So crypto is really about narratives. And when a narrative gets popular, basically people pour money into the top projects in that narrative and they go up really high. And then when people make a ton of money, they sell. And then they look at the next narrative and then it catches fire and money goes in there and it goes up high. And it's a rotation, not just from large caps to small caps. It's also a rotation from narrative to narrative to narrative. AI has done incredibly well. There are plays that people have 80 to 90x in AI plays from calls that I had last summer, right? So there are some incredible plays in the app. It's pumped really well, but I believe AI will be a very strong narrative coming this fall. However, gaming, the experts, when I say I believe, it represents the consensus of the experts that gaming will give us the craziest returns during this bull. So I'm heavily invested in gaming projects. I like the thought of gaming. So there's an event. Um, we can see how this works out in February, but there's an event in January. There's a company it's called Gunzilla, and they're releasing their games called Off the Grid. It's already released, but they're going to tokenize it with their token. And this is a very fancy talk to everybody who's listening to say there's an event in January that should buoy the whole gaming narrative, which means a lot of the projects in gaming should have a big pump coming sometime in January. Now, this project's been delayed intentionally. They're not behind. Like, everything is done. They're just waiting for the proper time in the market to do the release to create the most amount of, the most amount of return for all their investors. So it's not like, oh, they don't know what they're doing, they're behind. No, they know exactly what they're doing. They're timing the market, and it's going to create, should create a likely good catalyst for the gaming narrative. But for me, I like the gaming narrative. I like the AI narrative. Sorry, Roy, was that what you were talking about? Like the
No,
AI narratives?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So AI in crypto is huge, but these projects, we have to understand they're investment vehicles. Don't fall in love with them. We're here to take the best ones that should grow up in value. Sometimes the best projects aren't the best marketed projects. The best marketed projects likely outperform the best projects. It's the same thing in life. If you go to buy, the shoes, it is unlikely the best shoemaker in the world is selling the most shoes, because the best shoemaker in the world worried about making the shoes. The best shoe marketer in the world is marketing their shoes. And sometimes the best shoe marketer in the world will sell more shoes that aren't as good as the best shoemaker, right? So we have these projects that are first class projects, but they're not being managed properly. And that's too bad for them. Even though I might like the project more or believe in it, it might be a more viable project to make it down the road. As an investor, I want the one that's going to give me the best returns. And it's really going to be about the ones that are represented properly, that are having the right influencers support them, that have good marketing in place to drive up their value. So we got to understand, we invest in crypto, we're investing for the bull run. We invest now, likely we're going to be out if everything goes start to finish by next summer. And we're going to take now have, my high percentage completely offline by then. I mean, who knows what happens, opportunities are there, but I'm not, looking 10 years down the road. I'm in, I want to make multiples, and I'm out. And then I'll figure out what's next there if there's more opportunities based on how things are changing, in the industry, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, no, definitely.
Yeah. We don't fall in love. We want to get in, we want things to rock and roll, and we want to make money, and we want to, put that money in our pockets and go like real money in our pockets. My whole program is teaching people, listen, this is your money in your account. You're going to move, I'll show you how to move it online. You're going to move it online. You're going to buy some stuff. It's going to go way up in value. Now you have to sell and then move it back in your bank account and go spend it on yourself. So there's a cycle here. I'm not just in it to get you in and be like, oh yeah, whatever. Oh, tell me next year how you didn't make any money because you never know. I am there the whole way. Get in, invest, grow. Now sell, for the love of God, sell. Take the money out and go spend it on yourself. You earned it, right? Like you earned it. You made 50,000, you made 100,000, you made more. Good for you. Go enjoy it, right? And that piece is missing. I mean, that's just not prominent. You don't see that much. You just see people helping people get in, and it's hard. Like most of my clients have taken other programs, but the programs, they don't meet them where they're at. They're talking in language they don't understand. They're making assumptions that the client's trying to fill in on their own gap. I start at zero. I assume you know nothing. I don't make any assumption that you know anything, and I make sure you have the complete foundation from start leading into it to be successful. Because I mean, I love people doing well, Roy. You know that. I want people to be happy. I want them to do well, and it makes me happy seeing people, seeing people do well.